Good morning, fans of the New York Metropolitans. How we doing today? It's been a long time since I could say this, so I'm going to say it twice because it happened yesterday twice. Welcome to the Mets Happy Recap. Yes, in honor of the great Bob Murphy, we can say that today. Welcome to the Mets Happy Recap. Two times. How's everybody doing? Wasn't last night a special night? Thor came back. Stroman pitched a good game once again. Things were cooking. And it could be a sign of what things could be like at Citi Field next year. I know this year was a rough year. It was the first year of the Cohen transition. And it was disappointing in a lot of ways. A lot of offense that we expected never occurred. But hopefully we can get things going. But it was a good night. If you watch both ends, those famous now 7-inning doubleheaders, I'm hearing that there won't be 7-inning doubleheaders next year. We shall see. But how about last night? It was just nice seeing Stroman, and we have to lock him in. This guy, every day I throw stats up on the group site about how well he's been doing the last 4 or 5 years. This guy is Mr. Consistent. He didn't pitch last year yet, showed no ill effects from the layoff. And this guy's a gamer. He can give you innings. He's a pitcher. He pitches to contact, which is good. So that probably means he won't throw his arm out at all. But it was just a special night. I know the crowd wasn't big, and it won't be the next 2 nights. But it was a fun night nonetheless if you were watching the games. And got to give it to Stroh. I mean, I was a little cynical. I thought maybe his stats weren't what I thought they were. You know, he was just a lucky guy sometimes, but he is a pitcher. And that was possibly his last start last night at Citi Field. And it was basically a snapshot of his whole season. Solid, but somewhat abbreviated. And after watching their starters get knocked around over the past week, the Mets could only be thankful for that performance from Stroh yesterday. With Stroman in command, they snapped a 5-game losing streak with the 5-2 victory over the Marlins in Game 1 of the doubleheader. Now, as we all know, Stroh's an impending free agent, and he allowed 2 earned runs on 5 hits with 2 walks and 4 strikeouts over 5 innings. And again, nothing spectacular, but he got the job done. And thank God we finally got someone who can get the job done. It was his 21st start this season, of 33, mind you, in which he pitched at least 5 innings and allowed 2 runs or fewer. And that, to me, is getting the job done. In this day and age in baseball, that's getting the job done. He's pitched fewer than 6 innings in 15 of his starts this season. And at this point in career, I think Stroman is open to anything. He doesn't care what team he's on, but I think he wants to be with the Mets, and I think he would want to be there for more than a year, and that's basically what he's looking for. He's tired of having to prove himself year after year, and he wants security, and I think Steve Cohen will make the move to keep him in the fold, probably a 5-year deal. He's earned it. He's probably pitched about 1,000 innings so far, and he's looking at free agency. This is going to be his big payday. I mean, there may be more after this, but this is his big payday. So he took the gamble. He took the gamble and took the 1-year contract this year, the qualifying offer. So he's not the type of guy that's going to worry about performance, because when he had to perform this year, he did. So it's going to be an exciting few months for him. It's going to be a few exciting months for the Mets. We'll be anticipating whether or not he stays or goes. But he was also part of the offensive excitement. I was shocked. After reaching on third base as Eddie Alvarez's throwing error in the 2nd inning, he stole second base. Go, Marcus, go. And advanced to third on Nick Forte's errant throw on the play. Looked like Jose Reyes out there. It was Stroman's first career stolen base, and the last Met pitcher to steal a base was Jacob deGrom during the 2017 season. Now, Stroman said he told teammates before the game that if he reached base, he was going to steal. And you love that about a guy. That's a true competitor. And the situation presented itself. He said, I got to do it. I can't be all talk. You got to love a guy who backs it up. So he just got a good jump and got there in good time. And that was refreshing to see. That was one of the highlights for me of the doubleheader and of the season, just seeing a pitcher attempting to steal a base. Old school baseball at its best, if you ask me. Now, Francisco Lindor gave the Mets a cushion with a two-run homer in the sixth inning that extended the Mets lead to 5-2. The blast was Lindor's second in as many games, giving him 19 now for the season. Lewin Diaz smacked a two-run homer in the fourth. That sliced the Mets lead to 3-2. The blast was the third allowed by Stroman in the past two starts after going 5 straight appearances without surrendering one. Lindor's RBI single in the first gave the Mets a 1-0 lead before Brandon Nimmo's leadoff triple. Nimmo entered the day with a 1.124 OPS in 9 games against Miami this season. And like I said, if Nimmo was here all year long and healthy, things might have been a little bit different. And Jonathan Villar stroked a 2-out RBI single in the third that extended the Mets' lead to 2-0. After Villar stole second, put runners on second and third, Javier Baez scored on Alvarez's fielding error. Baez had reached on a 2-out single. So that was a good way to end the first game of the doubleheader. And I enjoyed it. And you know what I enjoyed even more? Seeing Thor come out for game 2. It was like the old days. And love him or hate him, you got to watch him. Thor is a lightning rod. And he was impressive in his return. The one inning he did pitch, and the fans were pumped up. There was a buzz out there like the old days. And Javier Baez also made a huge impact at the plate and on the field in game 2. So here's a little snapshot of what happened in game 2. Syndergaard's 2021 debut could not have gone much better. He was making his first appearance in the majors since Tommy John surgery in March of 2020. Syndergaard worked one perfect inning, needing just 10 pitches while striking out 2 Marlins. Throwing fastballs around 96 miles per hour, Syndergaard also mixed in a nice changeup, using one to punch out Chaz Chisholm Jr.'s swinging. He didn't throw any breaking balls, but surely had to feel great for Syndergaard not only to get back on the mound, but to be extremely efficient as well. And the Marlins knew what they were going to be getting. They weren't going to get any curveballs or sliders. It was either going to be the fastball or the changeup. So you got to give credit to Syndergaard. With his good stuff, he is tough to hit, even when you kind of know what's coming. Now, Trevor Williams took over for Syndergaard in the second. His first pitch of the game, oh my, it was launched 445 feet into the seats in right field by Jesus Sanchez, and that gave Miami a 1-0 lead. Williams got into some trouble in the fourth, putting 2 on with 2 out, and Eddie Alvarez hit a broken bat single to right, but the runner was stopped at third. Unbeknownst to Alvarez, who got caught midway between first and second, and he was tagged out to end the inning. Now, Williams gave the Mets 4 strong innings, allowing just 1 earned run while scattering 5 hits. He struck out 6 and did not walk a batter. Now, Marlins starter Trevor Rogers gave the Mets fits early. The talented young lefty retired the first 11 Mets he faced before Javier Baez lined a broken bat single to left, giving him a 12-game hitting streak. He's also now reached safely in 21 straight games, and that's a career high. Way to go, Javi. And Baez would also go on to make a dazzling defensive play to end the 6th inning. And I've seen enough of a sample size here to see Baez with the Mets. I want him back next year. The Mets, and I renewed my season ticket, so you got some money for me there, Metsies. You know I want Javi. Sign him. The Mets finally got a runner in scoring position, 1 out in the 5th as Jonathan Villar doubled into right center field gap to put the tying run on second. Now, with 2 outs, Kevin Pillar worked a 9-pitch at-bat before lining a single to left to score Villar and tie the game at 1-1. The polar bear, Pete Alonso, had an opportunity to give the Mets the lead with runners on the corners and 2 outs in the bottom of the 6th, but he popped out into foul territory to keep the game tied into the 7th inning. And after Trevor May pitched a scoreless top of the 7th, Villar lined his second double of the game to the warning track and left, putting the winning run in scoring position. Pinch hitter Michael Conforto was intentionally walked, and Jeff McNeil rolled into a double play to end the inning. In the top of the 8th, free runner Magirius Sierra, and I hope I'm pronouncing that name correct, was caught sweeping at second to bring the frame as Jerry Samilia recorded the first pickoff of his major league career. I can't even read my own handwriting, but I know he was caught sweeping at second. Now, the game stayed tied at the bottom of the 9th after Javier Baez was moved to third on a ground out. He came in to score on James McCarron grounder back to the mound that couldn't be handled. What an exciting finish. I mean, it was a little roller, but I was at the edge of my seat. It was like a playoff game for me. And that gave the Mets the win. Baez got a great jump, and that capped a tremendous day for him. And it was good all around. Fun doubleheader. And it continues tonight at the big city field. I was going to say the Big Shed. That's the games were always exciting to me at the Big Shed. Excuse me, I'm getting the hiccups over this excitement. And tonight it'll be Taijuan Walker against Elieser Hernandez. Sometimes you just don't want to see the season end, do you? Now, a Facebook user says Thor looked great. Happy to see him go for one more inning versus the Braves. And another Facebook user may have been the same, because when you come on Facebook, folks, and I apologize, it doesn't tell me your name unless you put it in the comments. So this could be the same person speaking twice. I'm not sure, but I do thank him for the comments. And the Facebook user is also saying that the two-seamer and four-seamer both look good, and the change was perfect. Well done analysis, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. And how about that standing ovation Thor got? That was great. That was great. And like I said, Thor's just one of those electric players that the fans love seeing. And it was just good to see him back. And you could tell he's a fan favorite. He's an enigma sometimes. You can't figure out what he does with his tweets and everything. But he is a pitcher. If any place was made for Thor, it's New York, if you ask me. He's a New York type of guy. As far as handling the stress, the media, he thrives off of that stuff. And when he jogged to the mound Tuesday, he got a standing ovation and another as he departed minutes later. And like I said, in between, he threw 10 pitches, retiring all three batters he faced with 2 strikeouts. He was back, one day short of the 2-year anniversary of his last appearance for the Mets. Now, Syndergaard, who underwent Tommy John surgery in March 2020, had kept him removed from the major leagues until this night, served as the opener in a 2-1 victory over Miami in 9 innings that completed a doubleheader sweep. The Mets won the first game 5-2, like I said, behind Marcus Stroman, and it was a great, great day. Now, Syndergaard, a pending free agent, admitted that part of the emotion was knowing that he might be pitching at Citi Field for the final time with the Mets. Well, I can tell you this, if Thor's willing to accept that qualifying offer, and that's a nice piece of change, he's a Met. And I think he may see that, and he even said he's certain that the Mets and him will reach an agreement, and he'll probably be pitching there next year. He would love nothing more than pitching in New York, and it's a special place in his heart, and always will be. Even so, Syndergaard said his confidence doesn't stem from any conversations with the club about a contract, just speculation and more hopefulness than anything. And I think Thor's on the money with this one. I think he is on the money with this one. And the Mets could extend a qualifying offer to Syndergaard, which would likely be, like I said, a big chunk of change, probably around the $20 million mark. Or they could attempt him to sign him for less. I think the happy medium will be sign him for 20. Uncle Steve, you got the purse, sign him, and hopefully he gives you everything that you want for those $20 million. And he even said that he would be extremely grateful if the offer was extended to him. So I think already he's tipping his hand saying that he will take the qualifying offer, and that's good. The Mets and him, I know, will cross that bridge when they get there. But I think when Syndergaard's already saying that he wants to stay, I think he's in the right position at the right time with this team. And like I said, his fastball was popping at 96 miles an hour. I know it's only 10 pitches, but that is so good to see. And it's so good to see that he finally did make his comeback. We had hoped that Syndergaard would be pitching by mid-June, but that was scuttled when he incurred elbow tightness during a May minor league rehab start. And then he restarted again his rehab in July. That was derailed briefly in late August. Guess what? COVID-19. He tested positive. Now, after his quarantine, Syndergaard pitched twice as an opener for AAA Syracuse. Syndergaard indicated that he expects to pitch again before the season concludes. And the Mets finished this season in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta will probably have it clinched, so be a good time to have him pitch. It won't be too much on the line. I don't think the Phillies are going to make their move at this point. After watching the starters mostly get knocked around over the last week, the Mets could only be thankful for Stroman's performance in Game 1, which helped the team win. And like I said, with Stroman and Syndergaard, it was good times at Citi Field yesterday, without a doubt. If you were getting excited about maybe seeing Jacob deGrom one more time before the season ended, you're not going to. And I kind of said this right along if you've been listening to these podcasts and YouTube casts. I've been on record saying the best thing as far as I was concerned was to shut Jacob deGrom down for the rest of the season. You just want everything to heal properly. It doesn't seem like there's any type of surgery. He just needs to rest the elbow. And they'll shut him down and focus on his off-season routine. So if all goes well, we'll have the old Jake back again next year. But maybe we have to work a little bit on him throwing the ball 100-plus miles per hour every other pitch. He did throw a side session on Monday, and he checked all the boxes as far as Rojas was concerned. But like I said, it's best that he just sits down and focuses on next year. It's a win-win for everybody. But what a year deGrom had. In 15 starts this season, a 33-year-old deGrom went 7-2 with a 1.08 ERA and a 0.554 whip. His average fastball velocity of 99.2 miles per hour, ranked in the 100th percentile. So he was the main man this season, according to Baseball Savant. And after dealing with various ailments in the first half that curtailed his workload, deGrom returned from the All-Star break with forearm tightness and was shut down from throwing. He was later diagnosed with what team president Sandy Alderson called an elbow sprain or low-grade tear of the ulnar collateral ligament. And Anderson added that the elbow had healed. And deGrom then came back a few days later, if you recall, in a terse statement saying he wouldn't have resumed his throwing program if he were putting the UCLA in jeopardy. So deGrom was well-defined, saying, yeah, he's fine. And he did throw 4 side sessions this month. And the good thing is, Rojas said that there won't be limitations placed on deGrom heading into spring training. They'll be treating him just as they would if he was completely healthy this year. And I think that's what the approach is, that, everyone thinks he's going to be fine. And there's no holdup for a planning off season. He's going to treat the off season like he normally would have, and they're expecting to show up in spring training the same way he did this year. Now, the 2-time Cy Young Award winner has an opt-out from his contract following next season. In March 2019, he signed a 5-year extension with the club worth $137.5 million. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that regard. You'll want to keep Jake happy, but you also don't want to break the budget on someone who may be injured. So they're going to have to take their chances with Jacob, without a doubt. So Sandy Alderson, the front office, what's going to happen? What's shaking? What's not shaking? We're going to have to see. I mean, it's going to be a lot of questions asked, like what's the future for Luis Rojas? His contract is set to expire in October. So what is the plan for the second-year manager following extremely disappointing where the Mets collapsed? And how much of the Met failures, which included their ability to hit with any consistency and down years from a number of players, could be blamed on Rojas? With the season still ongoing and Rojas' future up in the air, the expectation should be for Alderson to dance around this question for a little bit. So I don't think they're going to fire him as the season ends. They're just going to take time back. This is just my opinion. Pull back, examine everything that happened, and see if Rojas really was the reason to blame. Maybe some of his moves that I've even questioned were just a result of not having the confidence in the players that were on the team at that point. But where they go at Rojas could determine what direction they might go after the season. So the big question is, how's the front office structure going to work? The Mets are expected to hire a new head of baseball operations this offseason, with Alderson and Cohen heading the search. So that's going to be a dual search. Cohen really relies on Alderson a lot, so it will be interesting. But the likely plan being for Alderson to shift to more of a business role after unexpectedly. Yes, Alderson was not supposed to be in this role. Remember that before you criticize him this year, before being thrust into day-to-day baseball operations this season. Will the new hire report to him or directly to Cohen? And I honestly believe that Cohen will let him report to Alderson. I think Cohen's a fan. I think he's very astute when it comes to baseball, but he does trust Sandy Alderson and his decisions. So we'll see about that. Now, this dynamic could play a big part in whether the established executives are willing to leave their current job to take on the head of baseball ops role with the Mets. With everything that goes on in New York, it's not a slam dunk that every candidate you mention he thinks he wants to come to New York. So we'll see what happens in that regard. But Billy Beane's the type of guy that may want that challenge. This is his chance to shine if he comes to New York. So we'll see what happens there. And don't forget, he's very friendly with Sandy. They go way back to the Moneyball days. But with a potential target like David Stearns, he's done miracles with the Brewers. He is the reason why the Brewers are so successful. And we even tried to get David Stearns last offseason, but the Brewers said, you're not talking to our boy Stearns at all. We'll see what happens. I'll take either one, but I don't know if they're going to be able to price Stearns at all. Now, how about the roster? Beginning of the year, this was since about the 2006 team, I was more confident in this offensive roster than very few others in the last 20 years. Now, it's clear that after the Mets turned around a season where they were coasting toward a division title into a season where they were out of it by mid-September, there will be roster moves. You just don't settle and say, okay, we're good for next year. So there's going to be roster moves. But the only question is, what roster moves are going to be made? How much change do you think it means to those in charge? Did it have to be drastic moves, little moves? Who knows? Maybe bringing up some of these young studs from the minors, although I think, if anything, that'll be later in the year or in 2023. But we got some good prospects down in the minors. And will it all be for the new baseball man running the show, the baseball man, the director of operations, to decide? Now, the Mets will have to make decisions to make qualifying offers to Syndergaard and Conforto. And I think Syndergaard's a lock, and I think you do offer to Conforto. Don't forget, Conforto's involved with Boris, so who knows what's going to happen. I would not offer Conforto a long-term deal. Let him play for his money next year and see what happens. Now, do they think they can get back with minor tweaks, or is there a wide change in store? Would love to hear what you guys have to say on the group side about that. Additionally, do Anderson and company feel that the clubhouse needs a more vocal leader? Well, I think we do have that leader. I think it's Pete Alonso. And just through what's happened this year, what's transpired, we can tell that Pete wants to be that leader. Now, will the Mets exceed the luxury tax? We're damn close to it already. And you can see the results haven't been paying off. And that's taking into account tens of millions of dollars that we paid to arbitration eligible players. And that's not considering whether or not we sign Baez and Stroman. So if the Mets are intent on retaining some of their key free agents and making a big splash or two externally, they will likely have no choice but to exceed the luxury tax in 2022, and who knows, even 2023 and 2024. The luxury tax in 2021 was $210 million, but with the collective bargaining agreement set to expire on December 1st, it is not yet clear what that number will be for 2022. Timeout 2022. As I have another sip of coffee, so I wake up here. So that leads to another point. This season's going to be a little crazy this year with the collective bargaining involvement agreement going on. Now, hopefully there's no stoppage. I do not want a stoppage, and it would be ludicrous if baseball agreed to a stoppage with the owners. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll say that for another podcast, a YouTube cast. And what is the plan for internal free agents? Like I said, in addition to Syndergaard and Conforto, there are other free agents who are ineligible to receive the qualifying offer or won't receive it due to the high salary that comes with it. So the Mets rotation situation, they'd like to settle with deGrom, I'm sure, and then probably retain Stroman. He did accept qualifying last offseason, and he should be the number one priority. We'll sign him to a long-term contract. Now, Javi Baez is set for free agency. We got to lock him in. Again, I'm very high on Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm a little of a baseball nerd. I follow minor leagues, and this kid has potential. So you don't want Baez for a 2-month rental. That's where that would bother me more than anything. And, Aaron Loop, he was one of the best relievers in baseball. We got to reward him because who knows, maybe he's finding his groove. Now, beyond Stroman, Baez, and Loop, other key agents include Jonathan Villar. And we all know what a great ad he was this year. So it's going to be interesting. It is going to be interesting. What is going to happen in Metland? Well, what is happening in Metland today? We're here to celebrate 2 birthdays. Happy birthday to Heath Bell. Who remembers Heath Bell? He was a damn good pitcher in his time. And with the Mets, he was with us for 3 years, 2004 through 2006. Pitched 81 games, 108 innings, 4.92 ERA. And basically was a setup man. We got him as a free agent in 1998. And then the Mets traded him. Yeah, it's hard to believe that, right? Heath Bell. But he didn't come up to 2004. But then the Mets traded him to the San Diego Padres with Royce Ring in exchange for John Atkins and Ben Johnson. Happy birthday, Heath Bell. And happy birthday to Jake Reed. Yes, Jake Reed. He was with us this year. 2021, he pitched 4 games, 4.2 innings pitched with a 3.86 ERA. So happy birthday, Jake. And unfortunately, on this day, we mourn the death of one of the Met originals. He's in the National Baseball Hall of Fame. He's in the Mets Hall of Fame. And one of the greatest characters of all time, Casey Stengel. Casey was our manager from 62 to 65. His number is up in the rafters at Citi Field. And he was vice president of the Mets from 66 to 75. So happy birthday, Casey. Well-deserved. I mean, we mourn it, Kate. I shouldn't say well-deserved birthday. He passed away this year, and my apologies. But on this date in 1964, Casey, in a Mets press conference, the Mets announced that Casey, the only skipper the franchise has ever known, will continue to manage in 65. Although the expansion team has finished last in all 3 years of existence, the old professor, as we like to call him, received the raise. So the Mets did appreciate Casey's efforts with the Mets, that's for sure. And before I ram on anymore, I just want to thank you guys for watching, listening, watching on YouTube, watching in the groups, watching wherever, New York Mets Baseball Way of Life. If you're a Facebook member, please do join both groups if you haven't already. Just search us as New York Mets Baseball Way of Life and Baseball Way of Life. And if you're listening to the podcast, please subscribe so you'll be updated every time one is uploaded. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, like, feel free to leave comments. We love to hear from you. And if you ever need to reach me, I'm at philstan41@gmail.com. Now back to our good Mets stuff. Can you believe that it was 3 years ago today that David Wright left the field for the last time as a Met? And what a day that was. That was such a feel-good day at Citi Field. And I still have great memories from that. And then the Mets came out with a plan that they have a plan to attract younger fans. And this is not something I wanted to hear personally, where they're going to try and make it more interactive, more space to roam around, more TV monitors, more gathering spots. I'm old school. I like to go to the game and see the game. And that's why I'm there. But I guess it's a different generation. It's more of an entertainment thing than just going to see the game. What are you going to do, right? And then I posted David Wright's all-time ranks with the Mets. He's at the highest WAR as a Met, offensive WAR is first as a Met. These are all the categories he's first in: hits, runs, RBIs, doubles, walks. He's second in home runs, third in batting average, fourth in stolen base, fifth in on-base percentage, sixth in OPS, eighth in slugging, and eighth in triples. He is one of the greatest Mets of all time, and he meant so much to the organization. Again, thanks, David, for everything. And then I mentioned that Jacob deGrom finished the season with a pitcher baseball reference WAR of 4.4 in 92 innings pitched. That's the highest baseball WAR by a starting pitcher with fewer than 95 innings pitched in a year. Satchel Paige is second at 4.0 with 87.2 innings pitched in 1944. Then I mentioned that Marcus Stroman has now made 33 starts. Yes, 33. And his ERA is 3.02 in all those starts with the Mets. So he has really been fantastic. I mean, I have no complaints with Marcus whatsoever. If you do, then I don't know what games you've been watching. Now, who else in Met history? The last three starters that made 33 or more starts and posted an ERA under 3.05 are Frankie Sweet Music Viola in 1990, Johan Santana in 2008, and R.A. Dickey in 2012. We also discussed that Francisco Lindor has 21 RBIs in the month of September. That's the most he's driven in a month since May 2018 when he had 23 RBIs. Now, how about this stat? His keystone counterpoint, Javier Baez in the month of September. 33 for 86, 384 batting average, 5 doubles, 5 homers, 5 stolen bases, 14 RBIs. We got to reunite these guys. Then, just to go back in the past, I honored Keith Hernandez with some numbers on a post. He's an 11-time Gold Glove winner, 5-time All-Star, 2-time World Series champ, 2-time Silver Slugger, 1979 NL MVP. And one of my favorite categories, accolades that Keith has, is he's a Seinfeld legend. And he, like David Diaz said, he's a class act who brought leadership and professionalism to the franchise in '83. Agreed. So, how about Stroman with a stolen base yesterday? Who were some of the other Met pitchers recently to get a stolen base? deGrom in 2017. Ali Perez. Who knew Ali had wheels? 2008. El Duque, Orlando Hernandez had 3 stolen bases as a Met, and Jae-Won So had a stolen base in 2004, I should say. Now, who has the most starts this season, allowing 2 runs or fewer? Well, we can start with Max Scherzer with 24, Walker Buehler with 23. Then how about we talk about Marcus Stroman in third with 22, tied with Kevin Gausman. You go, Stro. And how about the Met starters allowing 2 runs or fewer in a season? Seaver leads the way with 27, tied with Gooden. Seaver 71, Gooden 85. Then you have Seaver with 26 and 73, deGrom 24 and 19, deGrom 23 and 18, and then Stroman's tied with 22 this year with Jacob deGrom, who did it in 15, Santana in 08, Gooden in 84, and Tommy Terrific in 16 and 8. Now, how about this one for you stat buffs? The Mets are 18 and 10 in game schedule for 7 innings. Maybe that would have been our key to success. Just play 7-inning games this year. And you don't want to hear the record for the rest of the games, 57 and 72 in games that were scheduled for the full 9. So that's it. That's what we're talking about in the group these days. Oh, and then I mentioned now that Steve Cohen's first year's owner is almost complete, do you think the Mets are better or worse off than they were at the end of the 2020 season? We did a poll, and 100% of us said we are better off. And I agree. No matter what the results were, we are better off. So good stuff. And now what's even better stuff? It's time to do our trivia and Met Jeopardy question of the day. The trivia question is, on what TV show did Buddy Harrelson make a cameo appearance in 1999? And today's Mets Final Jeopardy. 2 clues. Traded by the Seattle Mariners to New York Mets in exchange for Brian Givens on June 19th, 1990. On July 25th, 1990, he entered late into what seemed to be a blowout Mets victory that quickly and dramatically descended into a tense struggle after a 10-3 lead had evaporated to 10-9. He snared the last out of the game and became an impromptu part of one of the most iconic Bob Murphy calls ever. Now, I'll give you a second to think about it while I take a sip of my Joe. And let's reveal what the correct answers were. What Met player became the first? No, that's another trivia question. That'll be tomorrow's. Can't give that one away yet. What would you tune in for tomorrow? Anyway, the trivia question is, on what TV show did Buddy Harrelson make a cameo appearance in 1999? Well, the correct answer is Everybody Loves Raymond. And then the 2 clues for Jeopardy. Traded by the Seattle Mariners to New York Mets in exchange for Brian Givens on June 19, 1990. Second clue is on July 25th, 1990. He entered late into what seemed to be a blowout Mets victory that quickly and dramatically descended into a tense struggle after a 10-3 lead had evaporated to 10-9. Snared the last out of the game and became an impromptu part of one of the iconic Bob Murphy's most memorable calls. Well, the correct response is, who is Mario Diaz? And hats off to Ciro Grassi. This was a tough one, and Ciro nailed it. So good job, Ciro. It's good to see that you guys are on top of your Met trivia. No doubt about that. Now, what do we got going on today for the Metsies? It's our second to last home game of the year. Yeah, it kind of sucks to say that. But after every year, I'm always happy that I was able to experience another year, whether it's good or bad. I love my Metsies, and this year is no different. But tonight, we got Elieser Hernandez, 1-3 with a 4.24 ERA, going on the mound against Taijuan Walker, 7-11 with a 4.57 ERA. Should be a fun one. I'll be watching. Hope you are too. And hopefully tomorrow we can do another Met Happy recap about the game and talk about other good stuff tomorrow. Again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you real soon. Let's go Mets and enjoy the beautiful. It's a little bit cooler out there. This is my type of weather. It's cool. But if you're going to the game tonight, bring a sweatshirt. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Enjoy the day and enjoy Met baseball the way it should be enjoyed, with a smile on your face and just enjoying yourself. Take care, guys.